They shoved her aside like she was invisible. The impact wasn't hard enough to knock her down, but it was deliberate. An elbow to the shoulder, a sharp muttered curse, the kind of shove that said, "Move, you don't matter." Boots rushed past her, heavy and loud on the rain-slick concrete of the emergency landing strip. Men in bright vests shouted over one another. Rotors thundered overhead. Red lights spun through the fog like angry eyes, and O1 looked back at her. She staggered one step, caught herself, and stood still. The woman adjusted the strap of the worn canvas bag slung over her shoulder. Her flight jacket, faded olive, missing insignia, hung loose on her frame. Rain darkened her short hair, plastering it to her forehead. Her face was calm, unreadable, almost bored, as if chaos was just background noise. Around her, panic moved fast. The offshore drilling platform ON9 had gone silent 40 minutes ago. Then came the Mayday, broken, full of static, cut short by a scream and an explosion. Now survivors were being ferried in by every available aircraft. Medics ran stretchers. Engineers argued with Coast Guard officers. A news helicopter hovered too close, its spotlight slicing the fog. And still, no one paid her any attention. "Hey," a ground coordinator barked as he rushed past. "You move back. Civilians aren't allowed here." She didn't argue. She didn't flinch. She simply took one step back and waited because she knew something they didn't. That a Black Hawk descended hard onto the pad, wind blasting rain sideways. As soon as the skids touched down, the side door slid open and smoke poured out. Two medics rushed forward. "Multiple burns," one yelled. "One critical. Oxygen now." They ran straight past her again. Someone clipped her elbow this time. "Watch it," she said quietly. The man didn't hear her. She looked at her watch, 4 minutes late. Her jaw tightened, not with anger, but focus. Inside the operations tent, voices rose. "We've got 12 still missing. Weather's closing in. We may have to pull back. The rescue pilot hasn't arrived yet. Where the hell is she?" Outside, the woman finally moved. She walked toward the tent, but a young lieutenant stepped in her path. "Hand up." "Ma'am, you can't." She met his eyes. Something in her gaze made him stop mid-sentence. "I'm here," she said. He frowned. "Here? For the rescue." A laugh burst from behind him. "You've got to be kidding." A senior officer, broad-shouldered, soaked through, rank patches sharp, even in the rain, stepped forward. He looked her up and down. The old jacket, the scuffed boots, the lack of visible credentials. "This isn't a sightseeing tour," he snapped. "People are dying. Step away from the—" She reached into her jacket. Several hands went to weapons. She pulled out a battered metal tag and tossed it onto the folding table between them. "IT" clinked once. Silence followed. The officer picked it up, irritation still on his face, until he read it. Then his expression changed. Not confusion. Recognition, slow, heavy, almost disbelieving that he looked back at her. This says, "Captain Ayla Morgan," she finished for him. "Rescue pilot. Call sign Lifeline." The tent was dead quiet now. Someone swallowed hard. "That's not possible," the officer said. "Lifeline was grounded 2 years ago after a crash in the Hindu Kush," she said calmly. "I know. I was there." The lieutenant whispered, She's the one who pulled 37 civilians out of that avalanche and flew with a shattered leg." Another voice murmured. Ayla didn't react to the whispers. Her eyes were fixed on the operations map. "Your remaining survivors are trapped on the east rig arm," she said. "Fire's cutting them off. You have maybe 20 minutes before structural failure." The officer stared at her. "How do you—" "I flew that platform during construction," she said. "And if we don't launch now, you'll be counting bodies instead of names." Outside, thunder rolled. The officer made a decision. "Clear the pad," he barked. "Prep the bird." Someone hesitated. "Sir, the weather—" "I said prep it." Ayla turned and walked back into the rain. This time, no one shoved her. They watched her go. The helicopter waiting at the edge of the pad looked wrong to anyone who knew aircraft. Old, scarred, patched together like it had survived too many wars and refused to die. Most pilots would have refused it outright. Ayla smiled faintly. "Miss me?" she murmured, Running a hand along the fuselage, a crew chief approached cautiously. "Ma'am, are you sure you're cleared to fly?" She climbed into the cockpit without answering. The smell of fuel and metal wrapped around her like memory. She slid into the seat, hands settling on the controls as if they'd never left. The instruments flickered to life. Her heartbeat slowed. This was where the noise stopped. Outside, rain lashed the ground. Inside, everything made sense. The officer leaned in, voice tight through the headset. "Captain Morgan, if you can't do this, say it now." She looked straight ahead. "I didn't come back to watch," she said. Rotors spun faster. Wind screamed. The helicopter lifted. It disappeared into the fog. The same man who had shoved her aside earlier stared into the sky, realization crashing down on him like a wave. They hadn't pushed away a civilian. They had shoved aside the only person who could save them. The helicopter vanished into the fog like it had been swallowed whole. Inside the operations tent, no one spoke for several seconds. The rain hammered the canvas roof. Radios crackled with half-heard transmissions from other rescue teams pulling back, grounding aircraft, calling it impossible. The officer who had ordered the launch stood rigid, eyes fixed on the radar screen. "God help them," someone whispered. Out over the ocean, Captain Ayla Morgan flew straight into hell. The storm wasn't just bad, it was malicious. Wind slammed into the aircraft from the side, trying to flip it like a toy. Rain struck the windshield so hard it sounded like gravel. The altimeter jumped erratically. Warning lights blinked, then steadied, then blinked again. Most pilots would have turned back already. Ayla adjusted the collective with surgical precision. "Easy, girl," she murmured to the helicopter, as if it were alive. "If it flown vers." Her mind wasn't on the storm. It was on the people waiting. On the east arm of Orion 9, 7 survivors clung to twisted metal above open flame. She could see them now, tiny heat signatures flickering on her display. One was moving slowly. Another hadn't moved at all. A memory surfaced, uninvited snow. Screaming wind. A mountainside collapsing beneath her aircraft. The sound of metal tearing. Pain so sharp it turned the world white. She blinked it away. Not now. A sudden jolt rocked the helicopter violently. "Damn it," she hissed as an alarm screamed. Engine temp high. She throttled back just enough, riding the edge of failure. The bird shuddered, protested, but stayed with her. "Stay together," she whispered again. The rig loomed out of the fog like a dying beast. Fire licked up one side. Smoke rolled into the sky. The east arm was partially collapsed, hanging at an unnatural angle. And there, 7 figures. Some waved weakly. One slipped. Ayla swore and dropped altitude fast. "Rescue bird inbound," she transmitted. "Prepare for hoist." "I'll have to hover blind." Static answered. She ignored it. There was no safe place to land. The heat from the flames warped the air, turning depth perception into a lie. The wind howled between metal structures, creating vicious crosscurrents. Ayla hovered anyway. Every muscle in her body locked into perfect control. The hoist operator lowered the cable. "Come on," she muttered. "Come on." The first survivor clipped in. The structure groaned beneath them as the person lifted away. A section of the platform tore loose and vanished into the ocean. The remaining survivors screamed. Ayla felt the vibration through the controls. "Faster," she said, jaw clenched. "We're running out of time." One by one, they came up 0.5.6, the 7th. The one who hadn't moved was still lying on the metal. Ayla leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "He's alive," she said. "Barely. We can't hold much longer," the hoist operator shouted. The engine temperature spiked again. The helicopter lurched. The fire surged. Ayla made a decision that would terrify any sane pilot. She dropped lower. Heat slammed into the cockpit. Alarm screamed. The rotors clipped turbulent air and screamed back. "Captain, if we lose power, we won't," she snapped. "Get him." The cable reached the last survivor. The man didn't move. Ayla unstrapped. "What are you doing?" the operator yelled. She ignored him. With one hand still on the controls, she leaned out, stretching impossibly far, fingers straining, until they hooked the man's harness. She yanked. Pain exploded through her leg, the same one shattered years ago. Her vision blurred, but the man slid free. The cable tightened. They rose. The moment the last survivor cleared the platform, the east arm collapsed completely, vanishing into flame and water. Ayla hauled the helicopter upward, engines screaming in protest. "Come on," she growled. "Just a little more." The warning lights went dark. The engine steadied. They flew away as the rig burned behind them. Only when the fog swallowed the fire did Ayla sag back in her seat. Her hands shook. Her breath came ragged. But she smiled on the ground. The moment the helicopter reappeared, the entire rescue base erupted. "They're back." 7 souls confirmed. She did it. She actually did it. The helicopter touched down hard but upright. Medics rushed forward. The officer who had doubted her stood frozen as stretchers came out. 7 of them. Alive. Then Ayla stepped down. She moved stiffly, pain written across her face now that the job was done. The rain soaked her again. Her jacket clung heavy to her shoulders. For a moment, she looked very tired. The man who had shoved her earlier pushed through the crowd. His face was pale. He stopped in front of her. I didn't know," he said, voice breaking. "I'm sorry." Ayla studied him quietly. Then she nodded once. "Next time," she said softly, "don't decide who matters by how they look." He swallowed hard. "Yes, ma'am." The officer approached and snapped a crisp salute. "Captain Morgan, welcome back." She returned it briefly. "I never left," she said. Later, as the storm eased and the survivors were flown to safety, someone asked her the question that had followed her for years. "Why did you come back?" Ayla looked out toward the dark sea. "Because someone always gets shoved aside," she said. "And sometimes that someone is the only hope left." She picked up her bag. Before she walked away, she turned once more. "If this story moved you," she said, voice calm but steady, "subscribe to her brave stories." Her gaze met the camera. "And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from?" Then she disappeared into the rain, just another figure fading into the dark, until the next life needed saving.